Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of The Goldie Show, where we talk about everything related to politics, the Middle East, Islamic terrorism, and of course, what's happening in North America. I have a very, very special guest today, my good friend Jasem Aljuraid. Jasem, I will just read your bio really quickly, but I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell our viewers who you are and your background. So, Jasem, he is an atheist, a political prisoner, former political prisoner, an analyst, and currently a protected person. He is critical of Islamic radicalism and political ideologies, which means, Justin, you will fit right into this show. And I know our viewers are very excited to hear from you. Welcome.
It's very good to be with you, Goldie, my friend. You've been doing a great job in the past couple of years, and I'm really, really proud to be with you today. That's one. Two, I've been prosecuted. I've been sentenced to 14 years to serve in jail under the radical Islamists in Kuwait, and the Kuwait now is taking a different direction. And my project, which I was promoting through being a parliament candidate in Kuwait, to have a new constitution that is secular and that is coexisting with all the differences in the MENA region. So that was me. And on top of this, maybe we're not going to discuss it that much today. I was the senior vice president of Kuwait Financial Center in the last 3 years of my tenure in Kuwait.
So you were sort of on this trajectory and on this path into politics in Kuwait, but then you had to escape basically because you were persecuted then.
Yeah, after I was fired from Al-Qabas, and that got a really high trend in the Middle East. They went after me, and then the rulers, they didn't have any grip of this chaos, and they love to play with chaos situations, and we're going to talk about the chaos in Sudan.
Of course. Wow. Well, thank you for that. And, please stay safe wherever you are. Safety is always first. And, for everyone watching, guys, like people who speak out against radical terrorism and Islamism, it's not a joke. Our lives are literally put at risk just for speaking out. Doesn't matter. I'm from Iran. Jasem is from Kuwait. We've heard of others from, different parts. Ayan Hirsi Ali is from Somalia. Mustafa San Youssef from Gaza. So anyone who speaks out, it's the same pattern, right? It's the same targeting by these Islamic radicals. And part of the reason that they target us and silence our voices is because they don't want people who are not from the Middle East to know the truth about what's happening. They don't want you to recognize the patterns and call it out. And so, Justin, that brings me to the topic of discussion for today, which is it is a very, very complicated situation. There's a lot going on, and one of the big questions that my viewers have is what is happening in Sudan? Why are Christians being persecuted? Why is it being denied? What exactly is going on? And I did a previous episode, sort of like an intro 101. I shared the voice message that you gave me, which was incredibly helpful. But I'd love to go back and just sort of get an introductory perspective on what's happening. And I have a few things that I wanted to share with you. But first, you wanted me to play this message. Can you explain who this is and what he's going to talk about here? And then I'll play the video, and then maybe we can dive into the context surrounding this.
This guy is one of the most important people in the Middle East now to establish coexistence and establish peace with a low tolerance. Really, they have a chronic issue, a chronic situation. They cannot really tolerate the Muslim Brotherhood. So he is one of the fighters of Muslim Brotherhood and the radical regimes around the world, as well as Reza Pahlavi, His Royal Highness, who wants to be part of this, ruling in the region. So they share the same ideology, and he was the first one to establish the real peace with Israel. So
what's his name and where's he from?
He's the president of the Emirates, the United Arab Emirates. His name is Mohammed bin Zayed, or as he also known as MBZ. He is currently the leader, and he is running behind that big project that started from the founder, his father, Sheikh Zayed. So in this video, you're gonna hear it from his tongue, from his own words. And this video was shot when he was only a defense minister. He wasn't even a leader yet. So you can see now, and I will explain more and analyze his action in the Middle East.
Okay, so let's watch this.
الإرهاب دخل علينا باسم الإسلام، الإرهاب دخل علينا باسمنا نحن، فما في داعي نحن نرميه على اتجاه آخر. إذا دخل علينا باسمنا يجب نحن نكون أولى بالقيام بمقاومته.
Wow.
This gets me goosebumps, by the way. This gets me goosebumps all the time.
If he said that in Canada, he would be accused of being Islamophobic.
Oh, exactly. I've been also accused, and there are cases in Canada against me for being Islamophobia. I really don't understand the West now anymore.
I mean, it's taken over by the Muslim Brotherhood, but that's whole other conversation. But let me replay this. So I just for our viewers, because he's speaking in Arabic, I just want to read the subtitles here. So he says, terrorism, it came to us in the name of Islam. Terrorism came in our name. There is no need to shift blame on others. If it speaks on our behalf, then we should be the first to counter it. You don't hear that
No.
very often. Wow.
He's very brave, Goldie, and he started it with the Abrahamic Accord, and it was really being cooked for a very long time. And I supported the Abraham Accords in the GCC, and here I am. I'm in Canada, so they don't want anyone to boost these messages, these coexistent messages in the Middle East. And Mohammed bin Zayed, he doesn't care much. He can't even care less, and there are following him now with his project of the Abrahamic Accords. And in that video, he was the defense minister of the Emirates. So imagine now coming to the power with his brothers, who are like also in some sort of other ministers in his cabin. Now, the foreign minister had also a very, very famous video when he spoke to the West. And he said, you accuse us of, countering the radical Islamists, especially the Brotherhood, and you think that you know them better than we do. But this is ignorance. This is ignorance. So you can't really counter Islamists without really confronting them. Exactly, that was the video.
I have shared this video.
Wow.
Like I probably share this video like every other episode on my channel, because you cannot play this enough. You cannot repeat this enough. He's a foreign affairs minister. I guess he's the current foreign affairs minister of the United Arab Emirates. One of my favorite politicians. And yeah, like, so he gave this warning in 2017, almost 10 years ago. So let's just play this as well.
And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right. There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of lack of decision-making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
Wow.
You know what's really interesting, Justin, and this sort of, I guess, now we can kind of use this to seg into Sudan and what's happening there. So one thing that I've noticed is that all of these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine people, they're also attacking the UAE, right? And that's a, for those of us who know the signs and understand the connections, we know why they're attacking the UAE, because all of these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine movements are funded by the Muslim Brotherhood, are funded by Qatar, funded by the Islamic Republic, and Qatar and the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamic Republic occupying Iran are on the opposite side of the UAE, right? So it's not by accident, I don't think anyway, it's not by accident that recently you've now seen all of these, pro-Hamas people in the West, not in the Middle East, of course, but in Western countries like Canada, Europe, and elsewhere, they've now started going after the UAE, and they're accusing the UAE of genocide, the same way that they were accusing Israel of genocide. Is there a pattern here, Justin, or am I just making this up?
Of course, you're clever. You're a clever woman. Look, let me tell you something. The UAE usually, they were targeted for a very long time now, ever since they established the Abraham Accords and they built that Abrahamic building, that coexisting and helping the other religions, the Abrahamic religion, to be under one shelter. They accused the Emirates of creating a new religion, and that's totally false. More often is that we hear the Emirates saying that we are going after the radicals from the Islamists are in the region, and there you go. You're going to see only attacks against the Emirates, and Qatar has nothing to do, by the way, with any actions in the Middle East, rather than being an Al Jazeera project. So they started to be an Al Jazeera project, and I will give you an interesting and a catch in this story, is that we were supporting Al Jazeera in the first couple of months. We said, thank you, Al Jazeera, you brought the Israelis on the table, you brought all the differences on the table, and this is what we want Al Jazeera to be. But Al Jazeera has changed their direction and their strategy, and they used the radical Islamists, and they saw that it's very easy to target this audience. And then they said, this is our diplomacy strategy in the region. It's based on a very vulnerable pillars, and they cannot sustain this for a very long time. So the UAE and anyone who speaks against the radical Islamist political movements, they're going to be targeted. The only way, I want to conclude it with this, the only way to understand who are from the Islamists following me and following my work is to put two pictures, actually. two pictures. One post with Mohammed bin Zayed's picture, and the other post with His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi. That's it. And you see everyone attacking, and you go in the comments, and you just try to eliminate them and clean your world from them. So if you don't attack Qatar, if the radical Islam is not attacking Qatar, it means that there are a lot of interest that is coming out of Qatar. And if they are attacking the Emirates, it means that they are stopping, and they are the stopping stone of their progress in the region while they're in the power. So Emirates, the UAE, the UK, and the USA, they have a coalition in Sudan. We're going to talk about this later.
Of course. And so that brings me to Sudan then. So we all know that the Hamas is the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, and so all of these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine groups, in the West, they've, aside from everything else they've been doing, they have now been accusing the UAE of genocide in Sudan. Why is that?
Look, it started around 6 years ago, when the Emirates have seen Sudan's situation, the dire situation in Sudan is getting even worse and worse. And the Emirates are very ambitious. They want to compete in the region economically. They want to compete in the region in coexistence and in tourism. So the Emirates said, we want to speak to countries as two diplomats, not as an Islamist and one who is countering the Islamist political regimes in the region. So that puts the Emirates, in my analysis and my studies and research, is that the Emirates has started to lose the grip of competing economically in the Red Sea. So the entrance of the Red Sea, you need to have like some sort of deals with ports in that specific region. And Erdogan, the supporter of Hamas and the supporter of the radical Islamists as well, and the Sudan, back in 2020, when they asked the Emirates to help them in a sort of army equipments and so forth. So the Emirates in 2020 helped the army of Sudan, and they have sent them all what they needed to protect the state from collapsing. And then all the way to 2023, they had a disagreement where Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the current RAF leader, he said, we are very close allies with the RFS, and we're doing very well. So we don't allow anyone to get involved in our business, and we are both Sudanese. He's talking about the current opposition to him. So the Emirates has helped them all the way until 2023 in one condition, that the army of Sudan will never support the radical Islamists or the Brotherhood in the region. Before that, Omar al-Bashir, who was the leader of Sudan for decades and decades, and he supported Saddam Hussein and Yasser Arafat to invade Kuwait and genocide Kuwaitis. I think the use of genocide now, it has a different nature to their interest. They can call
they've completely they're misusing the word, because they're now claiming that any sort of war casualty is a genocide, where that's not the case at all.
No, and this is what the Emirates have done in the past. Omar al-Bashir and al-Turabi, the leader of the Brotherhood in the region, who was against freeing Kuwait from Saddam and Yasser Arafat. Well, we have countered them indirectly through the Emirates, through the West as well. So they have kept these, conflicts under the table to bring them up on the table whenever it's needed. So Mohammed bin Zayed was supporting Sudan's army, which is not today led by the supporter of the Brotherhood, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. And then when they started to, when the conflict started to separate them, both the teams, they started accusing the Emirates that you have sent the other opposition armed equipment to counter us. And the Emirates said, hello, it was back in 2020. And now, since you said that you're against the Brotherhood, you are my enemy too. So the killing that is happening to the minority, this is always the conclusion of any conflict that happens between two Islamists. They always go to the minorities, Goldie. Always. This is the same case happened in Sudan, when we saw that the Druze and the Alawites, Christians and Kurds and Yazidis, they were attacked, and they started to genocide them until Israel got involved. And the Emirates did not really like what is happening through Al-Jolani, where, unfortunately, if you wanted to get all the radicals out of Europe, you need to promote someone who speaks their language. So Al-Jolani is the leader. So when you say Al-Jolani is entering the Oval Office, guys, things are pretty. Just go back to your country and live under Al-Jolani and clean the European Union and all the West countries from those radical Islamists, which are silence bombs. So Mohammed bin Zayed, I want to conclude with this. His Highness is against any radical Islamist reconstructing projects. So they always reconstruct, Goldie. Today they die, and they're about to be totally defeated. So they hang to any other radical ideologies and try to also match their values to the other radical ideologies' values. And then they try to counter the Emirates. Emirates is the first nation to counter, not Qatar, not Kuwait, and now Kuwait is backing the Emirates and the Saudi Arabia in the future. Mohammed bin Salman will be on the same page of Mohammed bin Zayed once he becomes a king. But it's very complicated in the GCC, and usually the problem comes from the GCC, unfortunately.
So it's interesting you bring up Kuwait, because I haven't spoken about Kuwait quite a bit, but I would love to have you back on another time to talk about Yasser Arafat and the Palestinians and how they destabilized Kuwait, because not a lot of people know about that either, and they think that they're the victims. Meanwhile, they've pretty much been the mercenaries in the Middle East. I mean, these are people who, even during the Iran-Iraq war, they decided to go and join Saddam Hussein as mercenaries to the Iraqi army and murder Iranians. I have no ill will towards the Iraqi people. Wars happen. It's not personal. But for me, when the Palestinians decided to go and join Saddam Hussein just because they wanted to have an opportunity to murder Iranians, to me, that is personal, because they had no reason to get involved, but they did. So at some point, I'd love to talk about how Kuwait was affected by that as well. So you said a lot, and very, very interesting stuff. I wanted to play this news clip from a few weeks ago. It's about 15 minutes long. There's a lot of news out there about Sudan, and I find the challenge is that most people who want to talk about it don't necessarily know enough, or don't know the context, don't know the big pieces, kind of moving behind the scenes here. But this is probably the most accurate one that I could find. And I think what would be really helpful is if we watched it, it's about 15 minutes long, 15 or so minutes long. We watched it, and then, you can maybe give us your thoughts on what part was accurate, what part was not, what context is missing, because, you are a wealth of knowledge. And, that was one of the big requests that my viewers had last time around. So let's go ahead and start this.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. I'm Maya Tosi, and we come to you guys with the latest news update, this time from Sudan, as the civil war has escalated over the last day or two, especially the last few hours, as civilians are continuing to be targeted, especially the Christians in Sudan. And of course, the political left, the liberal progressives across the Western world continue to be absolutely silent, because no Jews, no news continues. We're going to give you guys the latest updates, all the information about this, and the situation might seem a little bit confusing for a lot of people, especially if for some reason you've decided to watch the mainstream media reporting on this. We're going to explain to you everything in an objective way and explain what side is what and who is supporting which side, which could get a little bit complex, but of course we're going to take you through this together. If you're watching this live, we're going to get your reaction in the live chat, and of course leave a comment as well. Let me know what you think. First things first, this whole thing obviously erupted in April 2023. It's been going on for about 2 years now, over 2 years, but things have escalated over the last few days. A power grab after the failed civilian transition. So far, we've had over 150,000 people who have been killed. 12 million people have been displaced. This is the world's largest crisis, objectively speaking. No urgency from the United Nations, really. No urgency from the ICJ, the ICC, the liberal lefties, Greta Thunberg. Famine is, of course, happening, but nobody cares. Right. This is all about the battle between two major sides. The SAF, so let's just call them, they are the official army of Sudan. They are basically in charge. They did a coup, controlled by the military. And then the RSF, they are the paramilitary, they are the militias fighting against the SAF. SAF, the military of Sudan, are backed by the Muslim Brotherhood. They are pro-Islamists. RSF are anti-Islamists, but they are Arab supremacists. So I'm going to explain exactly the difference. First things first, look at the map. The yellow section is the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. The green section is the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF. They still control, obviously, the majority of Sudan, but of course, the move from the Rapid Support Forces of the militias is actually increasing. So let me tell you first about, we have a lot of videos, by the way. Some of them are going to be graphic, but it's important for the facts to get out there, especially footage from the innocent Christians in Sudan who are being targeted. Just a heads up, but it's important for you to know the truth, mostly because this civil war is now going global. It's affecting the rest of the world, especially the Western world, not just in terms of mass migration. You are going to have that even more, but also in terms of the influence of the Islamists, the Muslim Brotherhood, and their proxies. All right, first things first, let's talk about the SAF, the Sudanese army. They're pro-Islamists. They are the official national army. They've been in charge essentially since the 2019 coup that they did. They are linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. They've been accused of war crimes, of blocking democracy, empowering Islamist militias, and they are terrified of being prosecuted for the 2003 genocide in Darfur. Now, that's that side. So it seems like not good guys. There are no good side on this, for the record. Let's talk about the RSF. The opponents. Who are they? They are the paramilitary militia. They are against Islamists, Muslim Brotherhood, but they have a different problem. They were also evolved from the 2003 genocide. Both RSF and SAF are basically from the same side about 20 years ago. They went their different ways. RSF, the opponents, they've been accused of ethnic cleansing and mass killing. They are allegedly tied to the UAE side in Dubai. They do fight radical Islamism, but their army, their military, are essentially chasing gold mines. And that's the interest coming from the UAE. And I'm going to explain. There's a whole list. We're going to show you which side, which country is supporting which side, by the way. Both of them obviously are the offshoots of Omar al-Bashir's 30-year dictatorship between 1989 to 2019, right? So that's the explanation of the two sides. But the Arab Islamist gangs are kidnapping.
So maybe we can just stop right there. So he gives this explanation, and so he says that the UAE is allegedly involved, but he doesn't really get into how or why or what. And for people who might not be familiar with what's going on, if anything, just the vagueness, and I know the vagueness, like it's coming from a place because everyone's trying to figure out what's happening, but the vagueness almost makes it seem as if the UAE is giving orders to the RSF to go out and murder people. Is that what is happening, or no? So what's the UAE involvement here?
That's, I think when you call yourself as a news agency, okay, no hard feelings to him. He's trying his best to offer some content. But I think if you're a news agency or you're trying to explain things to the media, you have to rely on resources. It sounds like an indoctrination going on his channel. He said things that are pretty correct. They are all one. And if you want to support a counter action against the ones who wants to build their empire with the Brotherhood, how can you control the consequences? How can you control their chaos? I think there are two risks that we're facing here. One is, do you want the Brotherhood to build their empire and then affect the entire Middle East with their poison, or do you want to counter it right now? There will be innocent killed, because this is the Middle East, and those people who are killed, they have other people living in diaspora, and they want to come back in a safe place. So there are it's complicated, as he mentioned, but there's the gold mining thing. I don't think the Emirates are after money. They're not after money. They're after only having deals with the world. This is Mohammed bin Zayed. He was speaking to the newly grads Emiratis, and he's telling them, this is how we do diplomacy. This is how we close deals for the Emirati companies. We build bridges. So if you're saying gold mining, I can really, like, I can ask him a question. Can you gold mining while the war is on? I don't understand. I don't understand the logic behind these accusations. And why gold mining? Why gold? Gold mining is very difficult to find, and it requires a lot of work and a lot of equipment, digging in the middle of the desert. So really, I'm gonna bring these, and I'm gonna risk my equipment, I'm gonna risk my future just to dig for gold. I don't think gold mining ever been done without peace and ceasefire. It's not happening. Lastly, when he says that the Emirates are supporting the group who are not in favor of the radical Islamists, I see this is a very moral position. And if you counter the Brotherhood, I think the problems between Sudanese, only Sudanese know. So they were together for years and years after Omar al-Bashir. And one has started to say that Omar al-Bashir is a dictator, but we want to bring Sudan back to its time. So Omar al-Bashir was a Brotherhood leader, openly. So is it the only way to take Emirates out of this action, is to call them gold diggers? I think he didn't base this on any resources or any facts.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I'm glad for that. So we have a comment from the chat. Let me just play that, and then maybe we'll get your thoughts on this too. So Yoav says the UN touched every African country in existence, and they hunt down African war criminals who ironically refuse to supply the French with neutral resources in ridiculous prices. Um, is that true?
I don't trust the UN. First of all, I see the UN as another propaganda machine. And if you want to really see how atrocious the UN is against the humanity, just go and read the Human Rights Watch reports by our friend Hillel Neuer. Just go and read these disastrous reports against the UN. I don't believe them. Yeah, they can support any ideology that keeps them alive, and supporting the radical lefts who are being used as idiots cards for the radical Islamists in the West and to expand the West.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an Iranian. You know, as an Iranian, I don't support the UN. UN is completely corrupt, especially when it comes to the crimes by the Islamic Republic occupying Iran against Iranians. They never speak about that, right? So yeah, like unfortunately, I think the UN has been corrupted by the radicals and the Islamists. Okay, so we got a little bit of insight here. So it seems like the issue here, and what's confusing a lot of people who aren't familiar with the Middle East, the confusing issue here is people are sort of putting out the statement that the UAE is involved and the UAE is supporting the RSF, but it's not that the UAE is supporting the RSF. If I understand correctly, it's more as if the UAE is fighting against the Muslim Brotherhood. So the UAE is on the opposite side of the Islamists, is on the opposite side of the Muslim Brotherhood. But it doesn't necessarily mean that in this current conflict they're supporting the RSF. Is that an accurate statement, or is that going too far?
That's that's a very very important statements to mention to your audience. Another thing is also fair to be mentioned. The RSF are against the Brotherhood because they don't want any Islamists to establish an empire in Sudan. So when you see people who wants to coexist, and we know that if you're countering the radical Islamists in the country, it means that you're secular in your ideology, and if you want to put the Sharia law out of your radar, then you by the nature of your movement, you're gonna support the Christians, you're gonna support the other minorities in the country. So we all know, Goldie, and October 7 was a very good academy for everyone to understand the radical, the armed branch of the Brotherhood in the region, Hamas. They kill their own people only to gain support from the West, and the support from the West they're getting is blind. And when you get a blind support, your project is not sustainable. So it's easy to counter your position, and the RAF is doing the same thing. They're trying to bring the West only to accuse UAE for gold mining. They didn't even say the UAE is killing anyone now. They're saying they're gold mining. They're saying that they're supporting the terrorists. What I know that the Sharia law flags are the terrorist ones. I know that they don't coexist with anyone. They want to imply their Sharia, which is like it can't be applied in the current world. It's you cannot consume these legislative laws in the MENA region and in any part of this world. So if you counter this, you become someone who's chasing gold or chasing money. I see this is really bad. But again, the Emirates, as you mentioned earlier in your statement, which is accurate, Emirates are not siding with anyone openly. They're saying if you're against the radical Islamists, we're going to help you. We're going to help you to think differently. Try to eliminate the number of innocent people. We're going to help you. We're going to give you also some insights on how to counter them, because we are in a war with the radical Islamists for a very long time today. So the Emirates are, I think, offering a lot of expertise, reporting for countering the radical Islamists, but they're trying their best also to copy and mirror the life in the Emirates back in Sudan. So just go to the Emirates today, Goldie. I think you went to the Emirates, maybe.
No, I haven't.
Never?
I haven't been. No,
Wow,
I haven't
that's
been.
another place to go.
I would love to go at some point.
You can't
I
believe
would
it.
love to
This is not the
go.
Middle East.
Maybe I'll do like a, how I did like a tour to Israel, and
Yeah.
I broadcast from there and I shared my experience. Maybe one day I'll have the opportunity to visit Dubai. Who knows? I would love that.
Not far from Israel. They're
No,
coexisting.
no, not at all. Yeah, and I definitely want to speak more about Dubai in future episodes as well. But so going back to what Mahyar Tusi said, then and again, like I have a lot of respect for Mahyar, great guy.
Same here.
And his video clip is the most accurate that I could find, the most sort of objective. So just think about, even he's not able to kind of fully fully explain the situation, because there's a lot of nuances, right? Like a lot of people assume it's black or white. It's either this or this. There's always a third or fourth or fifth dimension to to the situation at hand. And so I think anyone, especially when it comes to Middle Eastern politics, right, which is, I would say, probably the most complex, when it comes to politics in the world for, any region, the most complex is the Middle East for sure. And so to take a black and white approach, I think is sort of you're limiting yourself from fully understanding what's going on here. So I'm glad that you were able to help us clarify, where the UAE stands in all of this. So the UAE is against the Islamists, it's against the Muslim Brotherhood, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their interest is the gold mines or anything like that, because you said Sudan is a war-torn country right now. How feasible is that? Okay, so that was the first part.
Another thing quickly to add. Why we are only mentioning the Emirates? Yeah, we know that it's very complicated war zone, but why are we only mentioning the Emirates? Why?
So he does mention other countries. Okay. No, he does. This was just sort of like the intro type part here. And I just want to take it bit by bit because it is very complicated. But he does mention some countries, and we'll get into that as well. I'd love your thoughts.
And rounding up.
And then, if there's any part where you want me to stop so that you can comment on it, just let me know as well, and I'll pause the video.
Christian women and children for slavery. Over 3,000 of them have been killed in the last few days. Let's go to the first video.
تقدم وجبة واحدة في اليوم الواحد، أي الفطور فقط، ولم تعد هناك أي وجبة غذائية تقدم لهؤلاء الناس.
They're all being taken for
وجبة واحدة في
slavery.
اليوم، لذلك نرى الهزال على أجساد الأطفال.
Can you? I don't understand Arabic. What's he saying there? What's that person saying there?
Saying the opposite of what the reporter is talking about. They're taking slavery, right? He said they're taking on slavery, and the other guy is saying they didn't eat much, but we want to help them eating. Let's help them continue their life healthily. Like it's again,
so these aren't people being taken as slaves. These aren't Christian women and children being taken as slaves.
Of course, this is always the Sharia law people do. This is what they've done in Syria. They kidnapped Druzen women. They kidnapped kids, girls, Yazidis, Christians, Alawites, Kurds. So this is their playbook. I understand exactly what they're doing, but they never mention anything about it, and they're using them. So they know that they're in a dire situation. So they take the video, Goldie, and then they say, "Oh, look at the Emirates, what they did to us," and they're taking them enslaved in their prisons, and they're not mentioning this. They don't have any morale in this.
So these people, these women and children in Sudan, they have been taken as slaves by the Islamists, by the Muslim Brotherhood. And now they're being, videos of them are being taken by the Islamists and putting it out there, claiming that, they're suffering because of the UAE. Okay, so basically it's what Hamas does in Gaza, right? Where they'll,
same thing.
Videos
same exact book. Yeah. Okay. Same page.
بسبب الجوع
Disgusting.
في مدينة الفاجر بسبب الحصار الجائر الذي تفرضه قوات الدعم السريع. مشاهد قاسية.
Now, why are the leftists, the liberal progressives, so quiet? Perhaps people like Greta Thunberg don't even know where Sudan is. Perhaps because they don't care, because the Jews are not involved, or the Western side directly. Even though Islamists are killing thousands, and of course the Arab supremacists are also killing thousands. Greta, where are you? This is happening on the ground right now. Just absolute silence. We're not going to.
Which side is this, Jasem? Is this the Islamist side or the other side?
The Islamist.
These are the Islamists once again.
They're enslaving.
These are the Muslim Brotherhood.
Show you the end of this, because as you can imagine, yep, that's the end of that man's life. The last few seconds of it. Now, satellite images now confirm that over El Fashar's Darajia neighborhood, it appears to show evidence of door-to-door clearance operation. Absolutely insane ethnic cleansing. Now, the numbers you see on the screen, we can zoom in. On the number one is you can see bodies and blood. And it's also the number 5, you can see their vehicle roadblocks, but their bodies are everywhere at this point, on the ground, across the whole area. Not a word, not a single word from the virtue signaling Free Palestine mob, because I don't think they want to even bother do their own homework to find out exactly what.
I have a reason. If he's questioning, the reporter is doing a great job, by the way. I just was countering the idea. Why the UN is not getting involved? Why Greta is not getting involved? Why the left is against bringing this to the float? Because they know after they invite people to look at this, they're going to get down to the truth. And when they get down to the truth, the Emirates will look like a winner, and they don't want this to happen. So they want to just push the narrative away. They don't want to get involved. They're not only stupid. It's not only about the Jews. That the Jews is one thing, yes, but they don't want you to go research and see someone who's countering Sharia law that is coming from the Middle East. They don't want this to happen. This is not their goal, It's let people die. We don't care, but don't bring our voices' legitimacy down to the ground. This is their ultimate goal. They're grifters.
And Jasem, so those images we saw in that village, the horrific images where you can see from the satellite the blood, which side was doing that?
Well, it's both sides. This is the thing. If you're in a war, you don't know exactly what is going on the war zone. When they send you people, like how Hamas, they're using the same playbook. I'm telling you. So they send people with a civil dress, civil uniforms, and they're going there and bombing those guys who are countering their Sharia law. Why are you losing your life to keep the Sharia law in the power? So they're sending those people, and when you counter them, they say, "Oh, look, now we are witnessing a humanitarian genocide. We need to stand for them." This is exactly what happened in Gaza, and they're using the same book. It's fresh. It's fresh.
It's the same tactic that these Islamists use everywhere, whether it's in Gaza, whether it's in Sudan, even Nigeria. It's the same thing we've seen in so many places as well.
Congo.
Wow,
terrible.
What's going on? So they would rather just listen to CNN and Al Jazeera. They are gloating.
So I shared this video, and I constantly say, no one in the Middle East just randomly murders people and yells Allahu Akbar unless they're Islamic terrorists, right? So I put this video out there. I'm like, guys, these are Islamic terrorists. And then I have all these people who, in my, mostly X, because X has just become very, very toxic. So I don't really read the comments there, but sometimes I do. And I have all these people saying, you don't understand the situation. These people aren't Islamists. This has nothing to do with religion. Oh, my favorite one is you're being Islamophobic. Like, you can, in this like still here, you can literally see murdered people in the background, right? Murdered people in the background, and then these people are waving their guns, taking a video of themselves, and yelling Allahu Akbar, God is great. Am I crazy to assume that these guys are Islamic terrorists, Jasem?
That's a fair and accurate accusation. It's not an accusation even. You're just bringing the results before your eyes to the audience. Now, it's another thing. They only say Allahu Akbar when there's a distraction happening before us. So someone has to be killed, or a vehicle on fire, or whatever it is. Even when they kidnap people, they say Allahu Akbar next to the woman who's being kidnapped. Imagine the psychology that the woman or the kids are going through when they hear Allahu Akbar. It means that we are the deciders. We are going to decide your future, your security with this word. It's the same thing, by the way, when you say Free Palestine. It's the same thing. Free Palestine is Allahu Akbar. I'm gonna use your effective motions. So
there you go. Yeah.
yeah. So
You know what?
Allah
You should do pro tips from a Kuwaiti. I'm sure people would love that too, right?
I'm
You should
working on
start
one,
doing
but
that.
yeah, your
There you
influence
go.
does. Yeah, we'll do it.
There you go. But and you know, like what's interesting is what you just said about free Palestine is like the Western version of Allahu Akbar. In Toronto today, the Islamists they raised the flag of Palestine. And while they're raising the flag, people in Toronto, Canada, are yelling Allahu Akbar.
Wow. I never imagined the West will be this usefully idiotic. Allahu
Like
Akbar when you oof. What we're
what do you
doing
make of
here?
that?
What am I doing here? When I left the Middle East, I wanted to live in peace with my family. Now I hear Allahu Akbar next to my doorstep. I don't know. We need to counter this even in Canada. Is this a destiny for us to counter the radical Islams anywhere in the world? Then all right, we're for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's same thing for me and like thousands, hundreds of thousands of like Iranians who've escaped the Islamic Republic. We came to get away from that. And now today, literally people, raising the flag of Palestine, yelling Allahu Akbar. I was a politician for 7 years. You know this, Jasem. I attended
Mhm.
numerous flag raising ceremonies for different countries, different reasons, Independence Day, whatever the case might be. At no point ever for any country, when the flag was being raised, did anyone yell Allahu Akbar or God is great or whatever? Like never, ever, ever, right? But you're seeing it with this Palestinian movement, right?
Goldie, isn't Allahu Akbar is a message to distract the democracies and the secularism in the West, isn't it? So if
Of
you're
course.
saying Allahu Akbar, then you're saying that we are inviting Sharia law to override our secularism and our freedom, our freedom of speech constitution. So what are you going after? This is wow. It's an ideology that has successfully infiltrated the West, and now they're trying to distract it from within, so they can
Yeah,
get to the
that's
power.
That's
Wow.
exactly it. But yeah, because I mean, no one in the Middle East just randomly walks around yelling Allahu Akbar unless there's, and you know this, like, do people in Kuwait just randomly walk around and say Allahu Akbar?
No, no.
Of
If I say
course
Allahu
not.
Akbar, I have to hide under a car or anything. I have to throw myself on the floor, even with this
There you
dress.
go. Of course, because it has nothing to do with the dress, right? The dress is cultural. It's
Yes.
the ideology, right? It's the
No, we run
Islamist
away.
ideology that's infiltrated. Of course, yeah. All smart people would run away. But okay, so I'm glad that I got your input on that. So let's continue watching. So now that we've established these are Islamists, and again, no one in the Middle East randomly yells Allahu Akbar. So these people
Never.
are literally murdering they're murdering Sudanese. In the name of Islam because they're radical Islamists here.
They are celebrating. You can see innocent people, their bodies all over the place. We're also going to be giving you guys the latest update on Tanzania as the protests are escalating. But yeah, as I said,
I just have to comment, like, how sick do you have to be in the head to not only murder people, not only celebrate it, but then you film yourself celebrating massacring people and then you post it online. I mean, it's just these people have no place in civilized society, and it's scary that these people are being normalized almost by their supporters in the West. I don't know. Like it's
And if you
just
counter them, you're a genocidal. If you counter them, you're wrong. You're a gold digger. If you counter
wow.
them, you are the one who is seeking destabilization of the Middle East. Imagine this is the bad position that we reached finally. And I think there are a lot of projects on the pipeline, and I knew a couple of them now. We're working towards it together to counter these narratives coming from the West. And I've done one in Berlin, and they didn't like
Wow.
it. Goldie, they didn't like it. when I went on stage, yes, when I went on stage in the National Assembly of Berlin, and I said that the Emirates are doing so and so, and we have to celebrate freedom in the Middle East through different recognition to those countries who are risking their economical stability just to stabilize the region. They didn't like it. They cut the recording and they cut my word. Wow, that's in the West.
Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. It's almost as if um the globalists and the woke progressive left or whoever, and also the communists as well, because there's an element of communism in there too. They seem to have dominated the narrative to the point where now it's like, Islamists are oppressed and they're fighting for freedom, et cetera, right? I mean, it's that same narrative everywhere. And if you counter it, you're either, a spy or you're a traitor or whatever the case may be, right? Because it's almost a very like Orientalist, racist view where these people assume that if we're from the Middle East, we all think a certain way and we act a certain way, and that's just how we are, right? I cannot believe they cut you off.
That's it. And I understood, and I said, you know what? You're gonna hear it over and over again. If seeking the truth is something that you counter here in the West, I think you're in a critical position. When you say Allahu Akbar in the West, it means that you want to override your ethnicity, your culture, your fights for secularism, and you want to replace it with Sharia. Yeah, it's very worrying. Very.
Absolutely. Wow.
It's shortly after this, we're going to come back live on 2CTV with the latest update from Tanzania. The situation over there is also absolutely insane. But for now, we're going to focus on the RSF versus SAF, the Sudanese Islamist army, and of course, the other side. Let's be objective. Who do you think is backing the two sides? Well, it might get a little bit complicated. I'm going to simplify this. So sit down, try and focus. It's going to be difficult. SAF on the left-hand side, that's the Sudanese Islamist army backed by Muslim Brotherhood. RSF is on the right-hand side. These are the countries backing them. Let's talk about RSF first, on the right-hand side, okay? First things first, UAE are allegedly backing them. Of course, the government in UAE continue to deny these allegations. But Dubai is Sudan's top gold buyer, $115 billion, more than that actually. They basically trade in gold. It's very important for UAE and their wealth to have access to that. They also have an anti-Islamist crusade from Dubai. And that's their role. Russia has been backing both sides. Russia is the only country.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just to help the audience to understand more. I have also logical questions. Why would the Dubai not backing the SAF with Saudis and Egypt and Qatar, and then get the gold mining even more? Why would they go to someone who is against the Sharia law? Why they're risking their interest in Sudan, where they had agreements with Sudan to have economical trade? Why would they go against Sharia law? That shows that the Emirates are willing to risk anything just to keep the radical Islamists away. Look at the SAF side. Turkey, Erdogan, dictator. Look at Saudi Arabia. Today, Saudi Arabia is backing Al-Jolani and his killings in Syria. And they said we express our comfort and agreements with the Al-Jolani's action in Suwaida. The Iranian regime, the IRGC, they are backing the other side. So would you be on that side? Never.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Like, the Islamic Republic, Islamic regime, they're on the side of the Islamists, of course. And automatically, like for me, automatically, if the Islamic Republic is on one side, I know that's the bad side. 100% that's the bad side, right? Erdogan, he's part of, he's affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood anyway. It's interesting, Saudi and Egypt are there. Again, experience, like my expertise is not like all of these political nuances, because I focus more on the Islamist side and the Islamist narrative. But you do make a very, very good point. If the UAE was interested in gold, why would they be supposedly on the side of the underdog? So first of all, they're not on anyone's side, as you said. They're on the anti-Islamist side. They're not. It's not like they're going up there and they're telling the RSF, okay, go and murder people. There's a conflict. UAE has said we're not going to take the side of the SAF. My understanding is actually the UAE has actually denounced the violence from both sides at the United Nations. So they have made public statements about denouncing the violence here on both sides. So that's very important. This media like this news clip came out before that announcement went live, just 3 hours before. So there's that. But I did talk about that announcement in my previous show. But you make a very, very good point. If UAE cared about the oil, if they cared about the gold, why would they not take the easy side? Why would they just not take the side that everyone else is taking? Because that's, financially better for them. So it does lend credibility to what you're saying about the fact that the UAE is fighting Islamists and is, it seems as if they have this foreign policy of we're always going to counter the Islamist narrative and we're always going to counter Islamists wherever they are in the world, right? And it's, sure, it could be out of the goodness of their hearts, but of course it's also out of self-preservation and self-interest, because Islamists are also a threat to Muslim nations, right? I mean, Islamists pose a threat to everyone, whether or not they're Muslim, Christian, whatever the case may be, because for the Islamists, if you do not follow them exactly, and if you do not impose their version of Sharia law, you are an infidel, whether or not you're Muslim. That's what happened actually to the Shah of Iran in 1979. He wasn't Muslim enough for the Ayatollahs, and they got rid of him, and they said he was a kafir. So there you go. And yeah, so what you say makes a lot of sense about the gold in the UAE, and these are the sorts of narratives that we don't necessarily hear about. And so I'm really glad that you're here to walk this through for myself and for our audience. So thank you for that.
Sure. The country has been backing both sides, funding both sides, training both sides.
Is Russia backing both sides actually?
Actually, if we want to team the other countries up with in this equation, where is the US and the UK? They are on the side of the Emirates. Where are they? And why are you accusing them? Why are we not accusing the UAE of not issuing a statement of them supporting the RSF? Because they're not. They're supporting the idea of bringing the radical Islamists down, the ones who are chanting Allahu Akbar, and the ones who are now Egypt trying to. Egypt, by the way, I'm just for the record, Egypt is playing a very strategic game here. They want to kick the IRGC away from the Middle East interests. But when you hear a statement coming from Tehran, from those radical Islamist regime, then they add their flag directly. But Egypt started, and Egypt is working towards pushing the power of the IRGC militia groups here in the Middle East away from the interest of the Middle East. So in Gaza, you see now Al-Sisi, he is trying to he has a media campaign. It's working for him, and I don't mind it actually, because it's the Middle East, right? So the complication in solving problems, sometimes it's like to be with the both sides, and then you need to weaken one side, and then you need to praise one side as much as you can. So the KSA, the Saudi Arabia, I just wanted to also mention this because I've already made my position about this. Mohammed bin Salman, okay, because I know how he thinks, and they sponsored me when I ran for the parliament campaign in Kuwait. So my campaign was totally on NBC and the Al Arabia and Independent Arabia. So they are not with the radical Islamists. But Mohammed bin Salman is not today's king. That's what I can say. Maybe in the near future, hopefully, that we are going to analyze him, and he will not throw us under the bus. Hopefully.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is very interesting in terms of the developments that they have gone through, and the modernization in the last like 5 to 10 years has been absolutely incredible in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Recently actually moved from RSF to SAF.
Sorry.
Why I see Russia on both sides?
So he just said because Russia is apparently on both sides. So let me go back a little bit, and we'll see what he says about Russia.
They also have an anti-Islamist crusade from Dubai. And that's their role. Russia has been backing both sides. Russia is the only country that's been backing both sides, funding both sides, training both sides. Recently actually moved from RSF to SAF. But when it was still backing the RSF side, on the right-hand side, the anti-government side, again, they were doing arms deals, they were doing gold deals. And since 2023, things have been changing because the gold fund has been actually helping Russia to fund the war against Ukraine.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's too much, Adam. My friend. Well, Russia on both sides, and they have the budget to back both sides, and they are going against each other's. I think it's very complicated. That's what I can see. And every day in this war, by the way, it's a whole new update and a whole new position. So I don't want to accuse him for not being an expert in the Middle East. No, he's doing a good job. But maybe in his time he got to this information and he thinks that this is what is going to happen in the next couple of months. No. The Middle East is like a war that has 1,000 faces.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, they have diplomatic cover because they are hosting the talks between RSF, but they are backing the militants against the Sudanese army, SAF, to be against Egypt. This is over the Nile Dam tensions. That's not really as important. But Libya, they have a shared interest with UAE and also Russia in terms of the proxy games. But when you look at the left-hand side, that's the SAF. That's the Sudanese army. They are the Muslim Brotherhood Islamists, backed by Egypt and Muslim Brotherhood. Top military aids. They get training. They get pilots. They get jets. Big issue is about Nile water security, the dam threats. Saudi Arabia, they also back the Sudanese army because of finances and logistics. The Red Sea security and Vision 2030 is very important for Saudi Arabia. The Islamic Republic of Iran also backed the Sudanese army. They have arms deals for cash and influence. They also want to counter the UAE in the proxy wars. Of course, UAE and Iran are massive enemies. Turkey are backing the Sudanese side. Troops are training in Somalia. They are expanding Turkey's influence in order to bring back the Ottoman Empire 2.0. Qatar are backing the Sudanese army. They have political support, financial support, of course, Muslim Brotherhood ties, and they hate UAE. Russia, who've been backing both sides, are now officially backing SAF. Because of the naval base access, they also want to support the Islamic Republic of Iran in their fight against the UAE now. And they've also got enough gold from RSF, they don't really need them anymore. China is, of course, involved. All the imperialist nations are currently there, apart from the Western side, directly. China are giving the Sudanese army fighter jets. They also want to give them road stability and infrastructure because, of course, China wants influence. Ukraine are also allegedly backing the SAF. Special forces have been fighting the Wagner group, they obviously are mercenaries from Russia, over the gold deal funding. But now that Russia is on the SAF side, Ukraine are kind of slowly pulling back. So it's not looking good.
So overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's trying his best to understand the Middle East, and as I said, it's you cannot just analyze the Middle East this way. Like Russia, they're backing Iran against the Emirates. No, Russia and Emirates, they are close allies, and they have just bought like a huge I think fleet of Eurofighters. So, well, what do you mean? And well, I'm not really backing everything he says, but I think he initially, as an initial basis of his analysis for the Middle East conflict war, I think it's a good step. But no, the Emirates, yes, the Emirates, they have issues with Iran, but again, Emirates are also diplomatically very clever. They don't want to have conflicts with their neighbors. Emirates, they have a couple of, I think, issues with the IRGC related to their involvement in the Brotherhood, strengthening the Brotherhood in the Middle East, which is against the Emirates standard, Emirates interests, against the entire world's interests, frankly speaking. But I mean, yeah and no. That's my take on his analysis. Good first step.
And he was also missing the United States and United Kingdom.
The UK. Where are they?
Right.
They're on the side of RSF, I believe.
Okay, so they're on the same side as UAE and Russia.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But this is an actual and physical and literal genocide which is being ignored. But
so do you agree with that statement that there is a genocide happening?
Well, again, whenever there's a war between two Muslim groups, let's say two Muslim groups, one is fighting radical Islamists, the other one who is applying Sharia law or is going after, applying Sharia law, they want to make the other side looks bad. And this is one of their strategies in the war, or tactics, is to kill the minorities, take videos, and use them for your own benefits. This is exactly what they did in Gaza. So they're using the same playbook. They're using the same tactics in the Hamas used. So you cannot really do much. You cannot really do much. The UAE has to only continue the efforts bringing the radical Islamists down, and the only way to do this is to influence the entire world with it. So the Emirates are not alone. USA has already named the Brotherhood as a terrorist group, so they're not going to support any brotherhoods in the region. So they're gonna, by default, backing the RSF. Second, the UK. There are a lot of videos witness that there are UK army equipments and other war tools. So why don't they mention the UK? The media is something, and in wars is something else. So when you see the Emirates are in a war, and you see the IRGC is against the Emirates in that war, so and they have also relations to just stabilize the relationships together. This is the deep complexity we're talking about. So it's about files. You have files with the IRGC. If you follow this file and it's a successful file, we will always use this file to negotiate and bring our relationships in a better position. But they will never be on the same page ever. So it's this is the Middle East. I think you cannot just explain it this easily, like how our friend is doing with Tosi TV. Yeah.
By the West. At least the Western leftist establishment. Let's go to the next video.
These are the Islamists, right?
Yeah. This is the SAF. Look at the people dying behind him, and he's saying Allahu Akbar, I believe.
No, I don't think he says it. I mean, he might. I think so. I don't know, but it's just it's horrifying.
He said, listen. He said, do you want to see the Holocaust? This is the Holocaust. That's what he exactly said in Arabic. He said, this is the Holocaust. Look behind me.
What did he say there?
He said Alhamdulillah, like thank to God, Shukrullah, thanking him again. And he said, we grilled them. This is the Holocaust. We grilled them. Holocaust?
That's horrifying. That's horrifying.
Yeah. Now, one problem is that we have actually received the latest updates, which we have just verified. UAE-backed RSF, the paramilitary group against the Sudanese army, the Islamist army, have now announced that they have officially arrested Abu Lulu, a senior commander of the Sudanese Islamist army, who was seen killing unarmed men and women, especially Christian civilians, in El Fasher. So this is a major news update, and the Sudanese army, who are backed by...
So that was a few weeks ago. Any updates on that?
Nothing much,
He's just
actually.
been captured? Okay.
I don't know why they bring the Emirates to the picture, but it's a war between two now again.
Yeah.
And this guy was the one who's saying the Holocaust is behind me. So
What a savage.
The Muslim Brotherhood are not doing too well right now. So this civil war that's been going on for about 2 years is not just escalating. We might be seeing rapid change, radical change, which will affect the whole world, from China, the Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, and of course the Western world in general. Over the next few days, you're going to see absolutely radical things happening across the whole world because of this. Now, UAE, who've been accused of backing the RSF, the paramilitary group, RSF say, we are anti-Islamist, we fight against Muslim Brotherhood, but RSF are also killing civilians, right? UAE have had to come out today to condemn everybody. This is the official statement. The UAE mission to the UN said today in the Security Council, the UAE condemned the heinous attacks against civilians in El Fasher and called on the RSF to ensure the protection of civilians and humanitarian personnel. It called on both warring parties in Sudan's civil war to exercise restraint and comply fully with their obligations under international humanitarian law. The UAE reaffirmed its steadfast solidarity with the Sudanese people, announcing an additional $100 million to support life-saving humanitarian efforts in El Fasher. UAE.
how would you, I want to ask the audience, how would you get involved in this atrocity and get out of it clean? How? Like, there's no other way but to fight the radical Islamists. Any change that is happening in the Middle East is not going to change the world. He's overstating. It's only like between the brothers, they call them. I kill my cousin, so you don't get involved in this. So the outcome is secularism. So if the secularism is coming, then why we're saying that it's going to be dire for the entire world, or that it's a radical change? It's not radical. It's not radical at all. It's going to be a soft transition to humanitarian basis law. So this is what we want. And if the Emirates are getting involved and going to the UN and going everywhere, any international panel, they take the opportunity to stay in solidarity with the victims. So what else he can do in this case? Now they're defeating the Brotherhood. They're defeating the IRGC involvement in this. So what else? So isn't it like the Emirates are offering a service to humanity? I don't see anything else but this. They're servicing humanity with a lot of countering and money spending and bringing Sudan back to their balance. I want two countries of the Emirates to help the Emirates doing the same thing. This is I don't know. It's really complicated. I don't blame him, but it's really complicated.
So I want to share something with you here because, so far, every single image and video that we have seen, where the militants are mass murdering people and then filming themselves and yelling Allahu Akbar or making fun of the dead or whatever the case might be, it's always been from the Islamist side. It's always been from the Muslim Brotherhood side, right? The radical Islamic terrorists. And you're absolutely right. In a war, there are civilian casualties, but civilian casualty is not the same thing as genocide, right? Genocide is something that happens with intent. And what I'm seeing here is there is only one side that's engaging in a deliberate genocide. That is the Islamist side. And we're going to continue watching the 2C TV news. He might have some more videos there, but so far I have not seen anything from the other side where they are filming themselves, torturing Sudanese civilians or murdering Sudanese citizens or whatever the case might be. Al Jazeera, interestingly enough, Al Jazeera published this image that went viral, and it says a starved mother and her child about to be executed by UAE-backed rapid support forces in El Fasher, Sudan, which afterwards, so after this image went viral, it was found out that this is actually an AI-generated image, and Al Jazeera created this image using AI in order to push this narrative that, and they even say UAE-backed RSF are murdering people.
That's ridiculous.
What are your thoughts on this?
It's very easy to accuse people in a chaos. If I go in a chaotic situation in a basement where there's a party, if I leave safe, and then they're gonna say you got involved, you get yourself involved in something bad, and I'm only getting myself out clean. So when you look at this, and they're bringing the baby and the woman with her kids, we have shared this woman. I remember if it was this woman or someone else, the RAF, they were the SAF, they're firing next to her ears, next to her children, and they get her to shaking and trying to like protect her kids, like very in a very, very bad situation. Now and then they reminded us of the Bibas family. So when you bring the same idea, a woman with kids, and then Al Jazeera gets involved, then you have to make sure if Al Jazeera is sharing any content with the media, it has to have some sort of an interest for the Brotherhood. If it doesn't, they don't share it. They will never say, our team is not doing well today, they lost the battle. They're not going to say that. They're going to say Emirates, they're going to say the US, they're going to say the West. They're going to like use name calling those countries and those people. But they're not going to say anything against the Brotherhood. Never.
Of course not. But to me, what's what's very frustrating is that what Al Jazeera is doing in Sudan, where they are, because it even says here, so this website was looking it up, they traced the photo back to an Instagram reel uploaded by Al Jazeera's digital video producer and AI specialist, Khubaib Benziu, who captioned it, Al Fasher is being silently exterminated. First of all, why does a media outlet need an AI specialist? That's the first thing, right? Why do you need an AI specialist if you're sharing the news?
Good question.
100%, right? But what we're seeing here with this fake image that was spread by Al Jazeera, that's exactly the same tactic used when they're spreading propaganda against Israel in support of Hamas, right?
Exactly.
And now they're doing the exact same thing, and they're saying, starved mother, executed by UAE-backed rapid support forces. Completely false, completely untrue. And yet the actual video and footage, right? Actual video and footage shows that it's the Islamists, it's the Muslim Brotherhood, it's the people that Al Jazeera work for that are actually engaging in the genocide and the murder.
Yes, exactly, Goldie.
Yeah. Wow.
This is
and no one sees the pattern here.
No, and it's a very clever question. Why do you need an AI expert? Is it like to to call out the fake news. No. You're the manufacturer of fake news. So are you trying to use the AI for your best? Yes. And then they think that the world is silent or the world is stupid, as their own followers are. So, but this is the thing. Emirates are not getting involved in anything related to this. Emirates are saying, guys, someone is backing the Sharia law and someone is not, and I'm on that side. I don't want the Sharia law to be in the MENA region. So imagine an Islamic country.
I don't want Sharia law to be in the region either. I'm fighting Sharia law. That doesn't mean that I support violence.
That doesn't mean that we are fighting the religion Islam, or we have a lot of Muslim friends. The problem is that the Islamist regime or the Islamist movements, political movements, they're using Islam as a name, and they're gripping. Yeah, there are things that they didn't put in the Old Testament yet. They didn't have this project. I'm encouraging them to have an Old Testament project, to put all the verses in their book that is not applicable in the modern time. So the Emirates are doing it silently. Okay, so if you go to I'm an atheist. If I go to the Emirates today, if I'm an Emirati, I can just go to the government and say, I want to change my religion in the database to being an atheist. They're saying, all right, you're an Emirati. We're just gonna, encourage you to be loyal to the country, and that's it. We don't want anything else. So this country wants to progress, and whoever is against them, then they don't have anything else to offer this world with. So that's why I'm all the way with the Emirates. Like, even if they do mistakes here and there, but I didn't see them do this for a very long time. We're going to help them, take the right path, and they are taking the right path now. That's why we're supporting.
That's fantastic. And I'm really glad that you're here to, clear all of this up, because again, like it's not a black or white thing. And it seems as if Al Jazeera and the Muslim Brotherhood have been engaging in this smear campaign against the UAE. I mean, they've even resorted to spreading AI images, right? AI images of militants, murdering, innocent people, innocent Sudanese, and they're blaming the UAE for this. When first of all, UAE has nothing to do with it. Second of all, and I think I want to reiterate this point you made, that if the UAE was actually interested in oil, why wouldn't they go with the so-called, current government in place, right? Why would they not? Wouldn't that be the easier path? But they're choosing to take the more difficult path because they have a foreign policy. That foreign policy is, we are against the Muslim Brotherhood, and that means they're against it regardless of where they are in the world. And the SAF is currently the Sudanese branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, the exact same way that Hamas is the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, correct?
Very correct.
Okay, thank you. So I want to thank you so much for being here, Jasem. In the final few moments that we have, very loaded question, and we probably don't have an answer, but a lot of people are wondering, so how does this conflict end? And what can we do to support the innocent Sudanese civilians who are caught in the middle of this terrible conflict, and they're being murdered? I mean, what is the solution here? How do you see us coming out of this as
Well,
humanity?
it's as difficult as they were trying to help Kuwaitis from Saddam and Arafat genocide against us. It's the same. It's the same situation. It's people who knows each other's. They know their weaknesses, and someone who's backed by a lot of budget behind them to spread the Sharia law in the country. And then when you counter them, they go after the civilians and kill them, and then take videos and say, "Look what the SRF or RSF doing." So it's like it's not a clean war, and unfortunately, they have no moral background to back their actions. So they're willing to do anything, those SAF, to make the entire world look as sovereignty against rebels, and they came from a rebellion background. So they don't support the rebellions, but they were one. I think it's nothing we can support Sudanese with right now, but to see where the other side of this war, the other side of the story, where they want to put the Sharia law out. We have to really send a lot of content and explain it with our own voices, talking about how difficult it is for the minorities in Sudan to live with Sharia law, and if they want to have a Sharia law being applied in Sudan, then let's hear it from them. We don't hear any Christians from Sudan. Please encourage Sudanese Christians in Sudan to speak on our spaces. I always give them the highest priority to take the mic and speak. I know how dire the situation is in Sudan, so they are overriding any priorities I have. Let's put them as our top priorities. Allow them to speak. Hear them out, and try to bridge the rights resolution in through the social media. Yes, it's a very poisonous channel, but this is the only thing that we have to offer. And I want to thank you, Goldie. You're bringing the most difficult and most complicated problems in the Middle East, and you happen to really explain them with clarity, and breaking them down for your audience to educate, acknowledge, or just bring the logic sense to their ears. So I can't thank you enough for what you're doing now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And guys, everyone, if you're not following Jasem, make sure you're following him on X. Let me bring up his account here again. So this is Jasem, atheist, former political prisoner, analyst, currently a protected person, a good friend of mine, and he's always been a huge ally of the Iranian people as well. I appreciate that the pin you have there. A big supporter of constitutional monarchy, and of course our leader is Pahlavi, so means a lot to us. Thank you for the support, my friend, and I would love to have you back on at some point to talk about what happened in Kuwait. I've been meaning to talk about that. So yeah, I think history repeats itself, and what we're seeing in the Middle East is a continuation of the same issues that we have been dealing with for a very long time. And it seems like that the Middle East is waking up, but these extremists are now, it's like they're being kicked out of the Middle East and they're finding root in Western countries, right?
Yes.
And we're seeing this rise in extremism in the Middle East, in Canada and the United States and Europe, and it's sort of coming down and decreasing in the Middle East, it seems, right? And it's, politicians in the UAE have been warning about it. We played 2 videos at the beginning. I just hope that they continue speaking out. And, for me, as soon as I saw that the UAE, Al Jazeera was going after the UAE a few weeks ago, as soon as I saw that when it came to the Sudan conflict, for me, that was a red flag. Automatically, I was like, okay, if Al Jazeera is going after the UAE, and if you have these, pro-Hamas demonstrations, pro-Palestine demonstrations in the West who are accusing the UAE of genocide, that immediately raised a red flag for me, because whatever they say is a twist on the narrative. And what they're doing for the UAE now is exactly what they've done to Israel for the last 2 years, and what they're, continuing to do is to push their ideology by accusing everyone else of genocide. Meanwhile, they are the ones who are actually engaging in genocide, and they're trying to hide it from the world. So
thank you so much, Goldie. Yeah,
thank you so much, Jasem.
I second that. Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later tonight for our usual, watch a documentary and rate it, and we have a very good one tonight. So thanks, everyone. Take care, and make sure you're following Jasem as well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.